Tiny beetles from British Columbia are being deployed in Nova Scotia to try to protect hemlock trees from an invasive insect. Officials recently released the beetles at a few sites in the western part of the province where hemlock woolly adelgid has been an issue.
One of them is already eating an HWA. Yeah. That one right there, this guy, he's already eating one.
Roscoe said it is a safe, environmentally friendly project.
If they were eating and hurting anything else, we wouldn't even consider it. But, because they only go after HWA, that's why we're using them. And because they're effective. So they've been using these in the United States for about 25 years.
There were open and closed releases done at Ketchimakujik National Park and National Historic Site.
The goal of this operation is to see if these beetles can survive our winter in Nova Scotia. So what we've done is we set up a closed experiment. These branches, hemlock branches, have HWA on them, quite a large infestation. And what we did is we placed 5 beetles inside this cage. So they have lots to eat, they'll survive. And our experiment is to test whether or not they can actually survive the winter. So during the winter, probably January, February, we'll come back. We'll subsample a number of these cages, and then we'll see how many beetles actually survived. And by getting an idea of the rate of mortality that we call it, that'll give us a good indication of how well they can survive in Nova Scotia, and not just Nova Scotia, how well they can survive here and potentially other places in the province.
Park officials are also spraying and injecting the infected trees to try to protect them.
It really is important that we treat the tree before the canopy gets too thin. The number we look at is around 60%. So if it's below 60%, that means you look up and you see, really a lot of sky, because hemlock should be quite dark and cast a lot of shade, but as they get impacted by HWA, they get thinner and thinner crown. So it really is a race against time to try to get to the trees to treat them before it's too late. They get too thin and can't recover. So we're treating this one, and its canopy looks good. It's probably around 70%, so I would say it's still healthy enough. But that's the kind of task we're faced with. This is one tree. We're treating it with imidacloprid. It's Imajet is the trade name of the product, and it's effective at protecting the tree for 5 to 7 years. But after 5 to 7 years, it needs to be retreated. And the other important thing is that we're injecting into the tree, so it's being taken up into the tree, into the circulatory system of the tree. All the HWA that's feeding on it then is impacted. And that's the only way you can treat the trees, is by getting it into the inside of the tree, because that's how the adelgids feed, right? They're feeding on the nutrients of the tree, the fluid of the tree. You can't spray it on the foliage and have an impact, so you can't do like flying over the stand or treating it. So you have to do individual trees, so that really limits the amount we can do. So you have to be very selective about that.
In Maitland Bridge, I'm Jason Malloy for SaltWire.